Jesus came to the Jews, God's chosen people. And the Jews had special laws that they followed that God gave to them. And one of the very special laws that they followed was that they had feast days. And one of those feast days was named the Passover feast, also known as the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And on this feast, the Jews would have a special meal and special prayers that they would say. On one specific Passover meal that Jesus celebrated, he did things in a very different way. Jesus had 12 followers, the 12 apostles: Judas, Simon, Jude Thaddeus, Bartholomew, Thomas and Andrew, James and Matthew, Philip and James, and Peter and John. On this Passover meal, it was called the Last Supper. And supper is another name for a meal that you have in the evening. And this Last Supper was Jesus' last meal with his friends before he did his very special work. Let's read from the Bible about the Last Supper. The day of the unleavened bread arrived, on which the Paschal lamb had to be sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and prepare the banquet, the Passover banquet." They asked him, "Where do you want us to prepare it?" He replied, "As you enter the city, you will find a man carrying a water jar. Follow him to the house he enters and say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks of you, where is the room in which I will eat the Paschal lamb with my disciples?' He will show you a large upstairs room that is already furnished. Make preparations there." They went and found the room just as Jesus had said, and they made preparation for the Passover banquet. When evening came, Jesus arrived with the 12. While they were eating, Jesus took the bread, and after blessing it, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "Take, this is my body." Then he took the chalice, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them and drank it. And Jesus said to them, "This is my blood of the new covenant, which will be poured out for many." After singing songs of praise, they went out to the Mount of Olives. It was there at the Mount of Olives that Jesus was captured, taken away, and later crucified. On the third day, he rose again. Jesus had found a way to be with his friends, even though he had risen to be with the Father in heaven. So he left himself under the appearance of bread and wine. He did this because he loves us so much, and he never wants to leave us. See, the bread looks like bread, and the wine looks like wine, but they're really the body and the blood of Christ. He gave himself for us out of love. Does this table remind you of anything? Maybe Mass? When you're at Mass, remember this story. Remember how Jesus wanted to be with us so much, even after his death and resurrection.